Welcome to the Reddit selection, where the wildest, funniest, and most jaw-dropping stories from Reddit come to life. Today we are diving into Amethyst hole. Sit back, grab a snack, and enjoy the show. Am I the butthole for not letting my father walk me down the aisle because of his infidelity? When I, 26 female, was 16, my older brother and I found out our dad had been cheating on our mom with her very close friend. We also found out that it had been going on for years. He gaslighted us about it for a bit, but eventually came clean. Of course, this completely devastated everyone, especially considering at that point, my parents had been married for over 15 years. In the end, they decided to work through it. They went to therapy, she forgave him, and they stayed together. However, this completely ruined my relationship with him. Up until that point, I thought my dad was the greatest man in the world. He really was my best friend. But after finding out about the affair, I wanted as little to do with him as possible. I moved out at 18, but leading up to that, I avoided him as much as I could. That worked for a while. Now, it's been over 10 years since it happened, and it's starting to create bigger issues in my family. I'm getting married next year to an incredible man, and I'm very excited about it, but my family is upset about me asking my brother to walk me down the aisle instead of asking my father to do it. My mom said he's really hurt by it, which I completely understand and sympathize with, but my father and I haven't been close since his affair. My brother and I became even closer after it, and he was truly my rock during that time, so I want him included in the ceremony. Some of my family members are refusing to come because of this, calling me bitter, tasteless, etc., which is starting to get to me. I invited him to the wedding. He's more than welcome to come. I just do not want him to walk me down the aisle. I understand people can change, and from what I hear from everyone, my dad did. I think that's amazing, and I have no issue with everyone forgiving him. But I just can't. He lied to all of us for years, pretending to be this great man, but was cheating on my mom with someone who was like a second mom to us. And I don't want to be associated with someone like that, family or not. Am I the butthole for taking this moment away from my dad? Now let's check out some of the comments on this post. I still don't understand the concept of giving the bride away. Here's the response from OP. That's valid. For me, it's less about being given away and more about honoring the person who helped me get to this point in my life. It's a chance to share a deeply personal walk with someone who has supported, guided, and loved me throughout my life. Right, it may have started as giving the bride away, but I feel like in modern times, it's more just walking them down the aisle as part of the ceremony. I view it more as the daughter striking out and starting a new family of her own. I walked my mom down to her seat for the same reason, to honor what she did raising me. I feel it should be to honor someone who helped raise you to be ready to start your own family, be that your mom, dad, brother, or someone else. Do what makes you happy. It's your wedding. We didn't do that whole speech about who gives away this woman. That felt like too much. A friend of mine had a variant of that speech with both sets of parents giving up their children to each other and affirming their support for the couple. Agree. Historically, giving the bride away symbolized the transfer of a woman from her father's ownership to her husband's. But now we are embracing the walking down the aisle to emphasize father's support and blessing, rather than ownership. The historical meaning of giving away is rooted from the idea of women as property. But modern interpretations reject this notion and affirm women's autonomy. And now for the next story. Am I the butthole for not telling my family I got an internship abroad until after I was accepted? I am a 20-year university student and got accepted to a fellowship abroad this summer. I didn't tell my mother till after I got accepted, and she was really angry I didn't tell her before applying. I didn't want to tell her before, because last summer I had an interview for a summer internship, and she gave me a hard time. She stood at the door for the online interview, and then afterwards proceeded to tell me everything I did wrong and how I wouldn't get accepted. When I got annoyed, she said it was constructive criticism, but when asked what was constructed about it, she said she didn't want to talk anymore. I am usually very receptive to feedback, but this was just mean. Anyways, this time around I did not want her to get in my head, so I didn't tell her. When I finally did, she told me she was not happy about me going, as she said I need to come home and spend time with the family and take care of her. My grandma then got involved, siding with her, and they both were calling me selfish and ungrateful. I tried to argue back, saying this was a good opportunity for me that won't come around again. I said I was proud of myself for this achievement, even if they weren't, and they called me rude. I said if I was selfish, then why could I visit every weekend to see my family, to travel time, and provide money to my mother when she needed it? I was really annoyed they kept calling me selfish, so I calculated how much money I had given just over the last 2.5 years, which totaled to around 12,000. I sent this number in a text, and my mother was fuming. She said I was punishing her for her saying I shouldn't do the fellowship and that I was holding it over her head because I gave her money. My grandmother said that it was nothing that I gave her money because my mother works hard, and everyone gives money to help their parents because of all the money paid to raise them. I said it's different because I am still a student and make minimum wage on the side. Side note, I never asked or was paid back any money I gave to my mother. After this, I have not spoken to my mother, nor has she spoken to me, for almost a month now. I went home, to which she blanked me when I tried to greet her, and ignored my attempts to talk to be mature and try and talk it out. I got another internship abroad this summer right before the initial one, so I'll be gone for 3-4 months. 1st May, July, 2nd August, doing them back to back. I don't plan to tell her, am I the butthole? Now let's check out some of the comments on this post. The internships could lead to great jobs. Your mom does not have your back. You are doing the right thing. Parents should want the best for their children. I had a mom like yours. Be strong. It's tough when parents can't see beyond their own needs. Focus on your future. You may need your earnings when you graduate and find employment out of state. Not the butthole. Sounds like your mom has some narcissistic tendencies, and sounds like she learned them from her own mom. You might well have more encounters like this ahead of you, unfortunately. And now for the next story. Am I the butthole for waiting until after surgery to break up with my fiancé? I, 35 female, have been with my fiancé Tyler since 2021. Has been a stepfather to my kids. 2 under 10, since their dad passed in late 2019 from colon cancer. Over time, we've realized we have some fundamental difference politically, religiously, and in what we want for the future. Although this doesn't seem to bother him as directly as it does me, it's led to constant arguments, a lack of connection, and a relationship that just doesn't feel fulfilling for either of us. One of our biggest conflicts is that I am getting a tubal next week. I do not want more kids. He does. He does not agree with my decision, and while he hasn't actively tried to stop me, I can feel the resentment. Ever since I made the decision, there's been a serious lack of physical affection from him, which makes me feel even more alone. On top of that, he's been pushing his religious beliefs on my kids in ways I'm uncomfortable with. Of course, I want them to understand and appreciate multiple perspectives, but I don't want anything presented as the only right way, and he doesn't seem to respect that boundary. At this point, I know the relationship isn't working, and I need to end it. The problem is that my surgery is in a week, and I don't have a ton of support outside of him. I'll need help with basic things during recovery, and while I don't expect him to be my caretaker, having someone around, especially with kids in the house, would make things easier. I worry that if I break up with him now, things will become more tense or hell, just up and go, and I'll be stuck navigating recovery alone, while also dealing with the emotional fallout for both myself and my 2 kids. I feel selfish even considering waiting to end things until after I'm physically in a better place, but I also know I need to take care of myself. Would I be the a-hole for waiting until after my surgery to break up with him? And now for the next story. Am I the butthole for telling my boyfriend's kids to eat what's for dinner or don't eat at all? I'm 27, have been with my boyfriend 30, for a little over a year now. We recently moved in together. I have an 8-year-old from an ex, and my boyfriend has 2 kids ages 6 and 9. Since we moved in together, I now have his children every weekend, and he works Fridays, so I'm alone with them till he is off work. Friday night, I made meatloaf with roasted broccoli and mashed potatoes. My son eats well. He knows to eat the best he can, and if he don't finish his food, that's okay. But he at least has to eat the most he can, unless he don't want a before bedtime snack. I hold my boyfriend children to these same rules, which we haven't had any issues with till Friday night. Neither of the kids liked the food. The 9-year-old ate it, The 6-year-old refused, in which I said, "I'm not making you another meal." So he went to bed without dinner. When my boyfriend got home, his 6-year-old was complaining. He was hungry, and my boyfriend got upset with me that I refused to make him something else. I told him I wouldn't hold his children to different rules than my child. He got upset and ended up making him something else to eat, then told me that was horrible of me to deny a child dinner and blamed it on his young age, explaining I had to be more lenient. I explained that I had raised a young child before, and I was once a young child and followed those same rules, which just resulted in a huge argument, and him calling me ignorant. Today we got a call from my boyfriend's ex, and now the children don't want to come till Saturday or Friday night late when my boyfriend is off work. This caused another big argument between my boyfriend and I. He once again called me an ignorant a-hole and said I needed to change my way of thinking. Am I the butthole? I did not force this kid to go to bed hungry. I suggested him to eat a larger portion of his mashed potatoes and smaller portion of other things, which he refused, and he didn't want to make anything else himself. Now let's check out some of the comments on this post. Did the kids flat out refuse to try it? We have a 3-bite rule. Try 3 bites. If you don't like it, you may help yourself to fruit, yogurt, or make yourself a sandwich or something or the sort. Did you allow them a healthy alternative that they could help themselves to? Did he know of your rule prior, or was this the first time the rule came to surface? Here's the response from OP. The 9-year-old tried it and ate some of his plate. The 6-year-old refused to even try a bite. He was aware of this rule prior. Have you had discussions about enforcing rules for each other's kids? If you've had that discussion and are both fine with each other making rules for each other's kids and enforcing them, that's one thing. But otherwise, you don't really get to just decide to hold his kids to the same rules you hold yours to if he isn't okay with it. You'd be in the clear to not want to cook for his kids if their dad isn't supportive of your food rules. It's not your job to cook for kids that aren't yours, and you don't have to do it if it's causing you problems. But you don't get to set rules for his kids and hold them to it if their actual parent isn't okay with those rules. That does make you to it, in my opinion, just because it's not really your right to set rules for anyone's kids other than your own, without their parents' approval. You probably wouldn't like it if he was pushing rules you didn't agree with on your kids either. So don't do that to his kids. I thought this too. And should be happy the kids don't want to show up until their dad is going to be there. If dad doesn't like how she's dealing with the kids, then it's up to him to take care of them during his time with them. Honestly, I'm surprised the custody allows for them to be at his place when he's not there. Based on the edit, it sounds like OP didn't hold them to any rules, other than refusing to cook for them. They didn't cook for themselves even if they chose not to, and the dad made something for them. A 6-year-old should not be cooking for themselves. Eating only the meat or only potatoes would not harm anyone. These poor children need parents to focus on them, not whoever the parents are cohabitating with at that time. I have a 7-year-old, and she's definitely capable of making a bowl of cereal or grabbing the pre-cut fruit from the fridge. Like and subscribe for more awesome daily Reddit content. And don't forget to hit the bell to get notified when I upload new videos.